What's poppin'? Welcome to my E's Dirty Rotten Scandals, America's Next Top Model, Parts 1 and 2 review. I am happy to be here. I am Mrs. Best. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. We are going to be diving into documentaries. For those who do not know, I put a poll up on the channel asking what you guys would like to see me review more of. And everybody pretty much chose that they want to see me review more documentaries as well as scripted television shows. So E's Dirty Rotten Scandals is a limited documentary series that I am going to be recapping. And the second episode of this series was on America's Next Top Model. Now, I know that we have just reviewed America's Top Model. For those who don't know, I did do a live review discussing the Netflix documentary Reality Check America's Next Top Model, which is the documentary that included Tyra Banks as well as Jay Alexander, as well as Miss J. So I'm excited now to see another documentary because at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna recap this. I'm gonna do it in like a smaller video. But then I was like, you know what? After watching it, I thought it was worthy of a full review because it offered further perspectives. It offered a couple different things that we did not discuss or see on the Netflix documentary. And then in addition to that, there were some people as it relates to contestants and judges that participated in the documentary but did not participate in the Tyra Banks one that was on Netflix. But while we're here, I do hope that everybody considers liking and subscribing. I welcome everybody who's here watching the video. What's poppin', Thug Life? If you are new to the channel, an extra big welcome to you. I hope you like what you see. I am a newer channel. I've only been on the YouTube streets for a little bit under 3 years, so I will grow with time. But I'm happy to be here, y'all. Now, let's get into this documentary. So this documentary aired on the E! Network. I'm not sure if it's airing anywhere else, but I do know for sure that it did air on the E! Network. And there are some people we're going to see in this documentary who commented on that I'm not going to discuss in as much detail. I encourage you guys to go and watch the Reality Check America's Next Top Model review that I did. I will include that at the end of this video. I'll also include a link in the description of this video, and you guys can also check the documentaries playlist as well to see that. But some of the people we saw in that first documentary included Kenya Hill, Ebony, who was from season 1. I said, oh, look, y'all just went and talked about Top Model wherever y'all could talk about it, and I'm not mad at them for it. But this documentary kind of starts similar to the other one because they discussed Tyra's career, and the format of Top Model, but they didn't like quite go into everything with Tyra's career. But one of the first things that came up that was kind of like, I guess we could view somewhat controversial, was the fact that they delved into the psychiatric evaluations that happened before they were on the show. Now, for those who do not know, I believe we've talked about this on James's channel before. And I encourage everybody to please see the link in the description of this video. There is a link to James, who is someone I co-host a lot of Bravo and OWN network TV shows with. But we also discuss a lot of other things, and then we have a joint channel as well. But we've talked about psych evaluations before, and here's the thing. They're common in reality TV. They want to make sure, especially when you're putting people to live with others in a house, they want to make sure they're not putting someone that could snap and hurt other people or cause like a hostile work environment, things like that. I agree with doing a psych evaluation if random people are going to live in the house and if you're going to have to film people. It just makes it better. However, working in mental health has taught me that not all psychiatric evaluations are equal, child. They are not. Not everybody's going to do evaluations in the same way. Not everyone's doing them thoroughly. And some people are biased in how they do it. And that's just a fact. It's just a fact. But the ladies explained some of their struggles. Now, someone we got to see that we didn't see in the Netflix documentary was Lisa D'Amato. She was from season 5. I remember Lisa. I believe I stopped watching Top Model around cycle 7, like after that cycle, I believe. But I do remember Lisa's season. Here's the thing. Lisa was a pretty girl, but you could tell that she was troubled. You could tell she was going through it. I used to wonder when I was watching the show, like, why they let her on there? Why did they send her home if she's like so drunk and uncomfortable that the other women on the show are also like having issues? But Lisa did top model twice. She was on cycle 5 and 17. And she says that, as we saw, she told the producers about her upbringing and why it was difficult. And Lisa dealt with a lot of abuse. She dealt with a lot of SA. She dealt with a lot in her childhood that honestly no child or human should have to go through. And it sounds like a lot of it was at the hands of her mother, which is also a lot to struggle with. Now, Lisa did come off on that season of Top Model as someone that was always drinking and partying and just doing the most. Turns out, she says the producers manipulated her to be that way. She went to these intense psych evaluations, came out of the psych evaluations, went onto the show. They asked her about her upbringing a little bit, and then she felt like the show started to weaponize her childhood trauma against her, which she credits as the reason that led her to drink. Now, she seemed okay today. She seems okay today, but it is unfortunate that something that you're doing thinking it's going to help your life is making you want to drink. It shouldn't. And I also would like to say that not every person that goes through trauma or is triggered turns to drinking. That just seemed to be her poison for the moment. So, you know, I felt for Lisa. However, the part for me with Lisa that I'll get to in a bit is, how did you go through all of that and then still decide to come back? But she does explain it later, and we'll get to it. Now, let's get to the elephant in the room and the person that everybody wanted on the reality check documentary that was on Netflix, and that is Janice Dickinson. Janice Dickinson, for those who do not know, she's the Hot Mess Express. She's famous for having too much plastic surgery. She's got an insane driver's license photo. In addition to that, Janice Dickinson is also credited as being one of the first supermodels and coining the term for it. I've always heard her say this. She's always been credited for it. You know, I believe in giving people they credit and they flowers where credit is due. So we go give it to Janice Dickinson. However, Janice was mean. Janice was mean in ways that she just did not need to be, in my personal opinion, on Top Model. And her excuse for being mean was very Tyra, but also very, I have a bone to pick with Tyra, so I'm going to blame everything on her. Let me know, y'all, if y'all felt the same way about Janice Dickinson in this documentary, because it seemed like she just wanted to absolve her name, but it also seemed like she had a bone to pick with Top Model, with Tyra, with all of that, because she was not nice when discussing certain things, but she was also not nice on the show. And she says that the Tyra show and producers are the ones that begged her. And she says these people begged her to be mean. Can't nobody beg me to be mean to somebody else. But for those who are unfamiliar, which Gen Z, no shade to y'all don't know what was going on back then. You think you do from a piece of what you see on television, but Gen D they don't fully understand. Janice Dickinson, when she joined Top Model, was not at the top of her career. She had a really bad reality show that used to be, I believe it was on Oxygen. It was either on Oxygen or WeTV. I can't remember which. But she had a bad reality show years ago that she did. She struggled with substances. I believe she did the Dr. Phil show. Go see that review. That's questionable. But she struggled financially, mentally, with her sobriety. I remember seeing stuff back in the day from Janice Dickinson, like going through a hard time. So I'm like, maybe she needed to check or something. I do not know. But this documentary took a different approach. At every step of it, they kind of connected everything that was done to like the person that Tyra is. The documentary pretty much was like, Tyra Banks is a narcissist, Tyra Banks is disrespectful, and Tyra Banks is projecting her own trauma onto other people. That's what I got from it. They talk about how it made no sense for Tyra to comment on the figure of other women the way that she did on Top Model, when Tyra's whole story to these women and explaining what it was like as a model involved her struggle with being basically curvy. Tyra didn't become curvy, in my opinion, from what I used to see in the 90s. Tyra didn't get like curvy until, I would say, like maybe a couple seasons in the Top Model. But I'm like, Tyra, I guess that really was the model standard back then. And I apologize, y'all. I got allergies so bad. The weather is up and down. I can't breathe. I feel like I sound like a man. I'm going through all these things. So just bear with me. I appreciate you. And I do hope that everybody that is here, I hope you consider liking the video. If you really like us and have watched a couple of our videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do appreciate everybody who is here. Even if you are not subscribed, you still matter and you are sincerely and greatly appreciated. Y'all, they mentioned a woman named Sarah who was on the show. She was a plus size model. And I kind of see what they were talking about with Tyra projecting her drama onto other women, because Tyra was a thicker model. Sarah, this was not a Whitney. This was not a Takara. She, like, in today's time, she would not be considered plus size. Like, that girl couldn't have been more than a size 6 in pants. And they were trying to call her plus size. Now, while she was on the show, for those who do not know, most of the stars who were on the show, like I remember when TikTok was trending back in 2020 and all the stuff was happening with Top Model, like some of the people came out and spoke. They had to do a lot on minimal food, constantly being recorded, minimal sleep, working crazy hours. Like they had to do a lot with little fuel in their body. Well, when you do a lot with not so much fuel in your body, one expects to lose weight or to be impacted in other ways. So Sarah lost weight. Sarah was sent home not because she was too big and not because she was too small, but because she was at a healthy weight. That's basically what I got. And that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. She's beautiful today still, but I just feel like shows like Top Model are why you have artists like Lizzo coming out and focusing and showcasing body positivity. And I know some people are like, oh, this lady's always naked and stuff like that. But she, like me, was of the generation that watched stuff like this. So it is a big deal to be able to preach body positivity and acceptance of others, and to be respecting things like pronouns and those in the LGBT community. Like that was not a thing yesterday the way it is today, if y'all get what I'm trying to say. It just was not. So pieces of it, after watching both of these Top Models documentaries, pieces of what they're saying is true, and a whole slew of things they're saying is also true. But I guess like the issues that they have as it relates to, oh, how Tyra tried to blame, that was just the time and you guys were asking me for it. Yes, a piece of it was back in 2002, 2004, 2007, you could not get away with certain things like plus size modeling, being a lesbian on television. It was not as widely accepted. Today's time, yes, they still have their struggles, you know, communities of controversy or communities that were not accepted back then that are accepted today. They still have their struggles and strife today, but it's not as bad. You know, being gay isn't going to end your career. Being a lesbian that wants to be a supermodel is not going to end your career. You know, so things have changed. A piece of that is true, but the other piece of it that's true is that Top Model did do too much, and they could have given us the stuff that we wanted with those times without the extremities that cause pain to others. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth. But they go over some stuff that we didn't see and they didn't talk about in other documentaries I've seen big networks do. And one of the things they went over was the rules of the apartments. Now, I was surprised that Netflix did not go over this. But I feel like the reason Netflix didn't go over this is because it would have been very hard for Jay, Miss J, Tyra, and Ken to talk their way out of the rules that were set in place for the apartment, specifically Ken and Tyra, because the ladies were told that they had no privacy. They were filmed 24/7 in every angle of the house, no matter what they were going through at any time. They had very little food in those apartments. They were not allowed to have the windows open. They were not allowed to just be exiting, coming and going as they pleased. They were pretty much stuck there unless told otherwise. Now, one of the craziest rules that was mentioned, I believe it was Sarah who mentioned this, and it threw me, was that the only place that was private was the bathroom. But there was a clause in the contract, allegedly, and I encourage everyone to see the disclaimer in the description of this video, because I am only commenting based on what I have shown on TV. I cannot say what happened because I was not there, but I can give my opinion based on what I've seen on television. That is what I am doing. And yes, I have to protect myself. I know it seems crazy, y'all, but I just do. But the ladies were allowed in the bathroom alone, but only if it was just one of them. So for instance, if I go see my bestie, Leona, shout out to Leona. If I go see a friend, one of my female best friends, right? And I'm at her house and she's in the restroom with the door closed, putting on makeup, or just doing something simple like peeing. And I walk in there because I need something out of the bathroom. Cameras automatically now have the right to be in that bathroom with us. Even if that person who's in the bathroom with me is taking the biggest dump of their life. Now the cameras have a right to be in the bathroom. Sarah made a comment that I caught that wasn't funny when describing the rules about the bathroom. She was like, they would encourage us to shower together. And I'm like, okay. Now I'm like, we've looked into a lot with Top Model. People have told their stories, but can we get one of them, what they call them, investigative journalists to go and look into the producers and the staff? And I'm not talking about just Tyra, Miss J, and all of them. Where's the rest of the staff? Where are the people that saw Tyra going off on Tiffany? Where are the people who work in the background for the people in the background? Why y'all ain't talking? I want to know more. I feel like they need to look into it, because if producers would suggest stuff like that, that's weird. In most shows, the bathroom is a safe space. So it's weird that they would, especially for a show based on women, that you couldn't give women the restroom to have privacy. Child, y'all was playing with the church's money on that show. That's what they was doing. I don't understand it. Y'all, let's keep moving it forward though. But let me know how y'all feel in the comments about those rules on the apartment. Cause that, like, I kind of expected some of it, but that was too much. And I get that these ladies signed a document because they went through it in life, but I'm a person that when I've had struggles in life and I've been homeless, had to sleep on the beach, all sorts of stuff, I would not sign a document that gave away my privacy. Like, regardless of what you're going through, you have to protect yourself to a certain extent. If you're not getting paid, you're not protecting yourself. You're just putting yourself in a worse situation. Now, they go over Kenya's situation. For those who did not watch my reality check documentary, Kenya was also a part of that documentary that was on Netflix. And she spoke about an experience where she dealt with sexual harassment and nobody on the show did anything to protect her. Basically, she was doing like this jungle shoot and she was supposed to be dancing and they're capturing shots. But a model was grunting and moaning. And she says he was erect and becoming basically sexually excited, which is crazy. And nobody did anything. They made her look like she was the problem. I did think that was bad. They also bring up another situation that we have not discussed on my channel before, which was a situation with a model named Jaden. She was on, I remember that season, they were overseas in Italy. And for those who do not know, Italian people do have a reputation, just Google it or go on YouTube, of being racist, condescending, or prejudiced, unfortunately, towards African-American people. And I'm sure other races, but I can only speak for my race and what I have heard. And unfortunately, this Jaden female experienced that while trying to film a shot for Top Model. Now, what the photo shoot was them having to kiss this man, and it was supposed to be aligned with acting and modeling, but basically they had to make out and kiss this man for the shot. As soon as they announced it, the model was like, he just has a problem because he doesn't like Black women and doesn't want to kiss a Black woman, which is overt racism. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe he ever said that publicly, but he did. And these fools made her kiss him. And it made it seem like she was the problem for it. They were just like, oh, well, you better do your job. Let me tell you this to every Black person out there. Your integrity matters more than that check. And even if you have to suffer for a little second, your integrity matters more than that check. There is nothing on the planet that anyone could promise me to make me kiss someone who has openly expressed that they don't like me because of the color of my skin. Technically, you're putting her in danger because you don't know what people do when they racist. And that's the truth. So I did not like that. And it was also comical. And I was glad that E kind of brought the circle together to show us, like, Tyra preaches about loving Black culture, being there for Black people, wanting to support Black women, being that little Black girl out the hood that made it, while literally doing the opposite of what somebody who had the background of her would do. Like, how dare you, like, as a Black woman, do that to another woman of color? Like, that's not okay. That actually irked me and made my teeth itch in ways I didn't know they could itch. But I will say the model did handle that with grace. She killed it, but it pissed me off. And I bet you that man probably loved black women now, is all I'm saying. Now, moving forward, the next thing they kind of go over is the Top Model had a lot and was one of the few reality television shows in the early 2000s to showcase members of the LGBTQ community. Top Model has had plenty of women that aligned with lesbianism, and they've also had some, I believe, I'm not sure if they've had more than one, but I know that they've had someone on the show who identified as transgender. Me personally, I don't see the problem with it. I know that some people saw a problem with it back then. I do think with trans, though, you have to be cognizant of the straight women and the number of restrooms and things like that. But I mean, apparently the cast was okay with it, but then they may not have been, because the trans woman that was on America's Next Top Model dealt with a lot of bullying. She was picked on, and they kind of equate that to because she was trans. Just because someone is trans doesn't mean that you pick on them. Just because you are a person that may identify as trans doesn't mean you get to speak on the experience of women or men and how others feel. People just need to learn how to let each other feel how they want to feel, do what they want to do. You don't have to agree with people to have harmony. You don't have to agree with people to get along and interact with them. So I don't understand why those women had to pick at her just because she's trans. I don't get that. And just because you don't agree with someone, still respect people's pronouns, still respect what people want to be called. Like, let's just give the respect that we would want to receive. That's how I try to live my life. But I know everybody's different, child. But Ebony tells her story again. I was happy to see Ebony again, but I don't think it has anything to do with her story or Top Model. She just gives me someone who has a good spirit. So shout out to Ebony. Shout out to you. The makeovers were a bad idea. That's something else they go over again. I feel like this makeover subject with Top Model, y'all, I feel like it has been beat into the ground. Like, the makeovers were bad. They were messed up. I get it. But these women still agreed to let somebody do that to them. I understand them feeling like they cannot say no, though, especially for those who do not know, next year I will have my graduate degree in psychology. So I'm like, I do understand how they could feel that way, but I'm just like, the makeovers were bad and there's not much we can do about it. Now, I was surprised to hear from someone who mentioned on the show that after that episode where she essentially had the models playing blackface, she ended up, or not she, but Hulu ended up taking that episode off of their platform. I'm not sure where else Top Model airs. I don't really have the desire to rewatch Top Model. I couldn't even make it past cycle 7 when it was airing. But they mentioned Hulu doesn't air that episode. Let me know, thugs. Let me know if anybody has Hulu, uses Hulu, or other platforms, if Top Model is on there, if they have gotten rid of that blackface episode. Because that episode was a mistake. Even Tyra admitted it was a mistake. Most people did. Let's just not dress up pretending to be of another culture. Let's just not do that. Let's just not, Tyra, that was a bad idea. When Charlie's Angels came out and everybody loved Lucy Liu back in, I believe that was 02, 01 or 02. Okay. People did not draw her skin complexion on their skin so that they could look like her. Like, I'm glad that Tyra can admit that that was wrong, but I feel like she doesn't care, if that makes sense. But y'all, the blackface, don't do that, y'all. Just don't do it. Now, somebody speaks about Tyra's disdain for ghetto, because Tyra does use that word a lot. Oh, this is ghetto. I don't like this is ghetto. I don't like if something is ghetto, which I can understand. I don't like, well, some stuff is a little bit better ghetto, I'm just saying. But, however, the way Tyra talked about it was kind of negative, and she kind of came for certain people. Now, this is how we get into, first we go backwards, and they explain to us the era of Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks, how Naomi Campbell was on top and then Tyra Banks came along, and Tyra has spoken about this, and it was a thing in the 90s, how Tyra felt like Naomi picked on her, was not nice to her. Let me tell y'all something about this. Naomi Campbell is a Gemini. Shout out Gemini gang. It's almost our season. But Naomi Campbell is a Gemini. And I'm going to tell you something about Geminis a lot of people don't want to accept. We don't bother people. The only time we bother people is if they bother us. And 9 times out of 10, if they are bothering people, it's a man that was born in June. That's usually how it goes with Geminis. I do not know why. But Geminis are incredible at discernment. They say that the twins or something on the astrology chart gives us a third eye. We could see right through people. We could tell who's genuine and who's not. That's why some people get quiet me. Some people get this me. Some people get friendly me. Some people get reserved me. Why? Because if I sense that your energy is vexed, I'm not giving you any of mine. Simple. That's just how it is. Maybe that's what Naomi Campbell did with Tyra, because all the stuff that's come out with Tyra, even outside of Top Model, the stuff that was said about the cast or the staff that worked on her show, allegedly, the way that she handled the reality check documentary in a condescending, accusatory fashion towards the audience and those who watched her show and made her rich, like, it just is what it is. So I think Naomi might have spotted some stuff that we didn't spot, and Tyra played victim. That's what it's given. But we'll never know. We'll never know. We'll never know unless Naomi comes out and speaks up on it. But she's somewhere in the UK living her best fine life. I love me some Naomi Campbell. Just don't piss her off. She'll throw a cell phone at your head. If you know, you know. But they basically mentioned the Naomi Campbell beef to say that people feel like Tyra is taking out her anger and what she could not do in that situation, and now she's using it to kind of like have control over the girls from Top Model in a newer situation, which I was like, you guys are kind of reaching. If you're going to make suggestions like that on national television, here's what E should have done. They should have hired a psychologist or someone to comment like throughout the whole series and left it that way, because the whole time they was alluding that Tyra was some sort of psychotic narcissist. And I'm just like, y'all, really? You gotta, like, I understand they're probably allowed, I believe with documentaries there's different laws so they can give their opinion, speak on it, things like that, but I still just feel like it's smart to be careful what we say, if that makes sense. But Janice Dickinson goes on to bring up the situation with Tiffany, and everyone is talking about this situation with Tiffany. We were all rooting for you. Let me tell you this. I never understood why Tyra got so angry watching the show. They did try to edit Tiffany like she had an attitude, but Tiffany did her best. Tyra snapped on her. I never understood it. And now we're getting some of the docs connected. Now, Tyra, you cannot deny that nothing that bad happened with Tiffany, because now every person that was on that season, down to the judges, down to people working in the background, down to Janice Dickinson, has confirmed that you went off on that girl in a way that was not appropriate, and shame on you for that. But Janice Dickinson says it was so bad that she almost wanted to hold Tyra down to make her stop. I said, baby, it couldn't have been that bad because you didn't. Can't stand Janice Dickinson sometimes. I really cannot. But Janice made a good point that surprised me coming with her. And though I don't really care for her, I'm not going to lie to y'all, she did make a good point that I did notice. According to Janice Dickinson, Tyra was harder on the Black girls that came on Top Model than she was on the other girls of other races and culture, which I can understand. Some people are like that in the Black community, where they're like, I'm going to be hard on you. I'm going to hold you accountable because I want you to emulate Black excellence. I want you to not be the stereotype. Like, some people are strict. Like, growing up, I had to bring home straight A's. Why? Because my father was like, you're Black, people going to count you out, but something people can never take from you is knowledge. So it was like a big thing. Get good grades, know how to read, understand how to speak appropriately, all of those types of things. Now, I don't think Tyra was coming at it with that mindset, but I do feel like she might have been torn with like an inner battle of like wanting to help them, but wanting to have a good show. And I also feel like maybe she had the mindset from her being the minority in the industry of, I don't want to just give them extra attention and people think it's because we're the same race. Like, maybe she had that. I don't know. But if you were meaner to those Black girls for no reason, Tyra, shame on you. Shame on you. And shame on the NAACP for still continuing to lift her up when, come on now. Because because they kept showing Tyra giving a speech. I believe it was like she won some sort of award. It might have been an NAACP award, or it might have been something else. And she kept talking about how she's not going to let the documentary, the accusations about her, like, make people forget about 24 cycles of her changing lives. But you're not changing lives if the only people profiting are you, and that's the thing. And that is how we get into cost. Now, this is something that was not discussed in detail on Netflix, but they made it clear that a lot of, like, Netflix more so focused on the fact that Top Model did not provide these women with the careers that people thought they would get. This documentary went deeper into the money. So the models were not paid to be on the show at all. When you look at TV shows today, if you go on Survivor today, win or lose, you're getting some type of money. Same thing with The Challenge. Same thing with the Beverly Hills Housewives and the franchise. Most people, even Love and Marriage Huntsville cast, are paid something. Back then on reality television, you were not always promised to be paid something. And there was no social media, so being on television did not guarantee you a foot into the industry. It wasn't as easy as it is today. What I found interesting is that even as the show continued in the later cycles that were around during social media, that is when you notice we got people like Winnie Harlow and those who were able to get big. So it shows the difference in the power that social media can really be as a tool, which is, I guess that's a positive. Now, the models were only paid a $37 per day budget, a per diem, if you will, to eat. I said $37 to eat for the whole day. And you have these women in New York City. That's breakfast and maybe a snack. Like, what? $37 is not a lot of money. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, unless you expect these women to survive on top ramen, cup of noodles, and whatever else is instant and quick. Because $37 a day in New York City, I'm just going to keep it a buck with y'all, can't buy you shit. But, that's what they got. And in addition to that, the way that the contracts work. So Top Model, the prize was you got a modeling contract with the sponsor. It was CoverGirl for many seasons. And then at one point it became Pantene, which is a shampoo company. And what happens is they give them $100,000 contract that is valid for 1 year. And what that contract says is that they have to, there's a clause in it that says they have to do $100,000 worth of work in a year. However, if there is no work available, they don't have to pay them anything. So, of course, it's easy to say, no work available, not pay these ladies nothing. CoverGirl wins and gets all of this notice from being on a show and sponsoring it, but they're not actually doing anything for the winner. They just playing the person who comes to try on the show, which is not nice at all. But these ladies, basically, they weren't paid shit, which is crazy. And I'm a pretty empathetic person, but I still struggle to understand why in the world would y'all allow being on a television show? I don't care how messed up their life was. That's like if I have $5 left to my name and I see a slot machine and decide to gamble it away instead of buying something to eat. Like, that doesn't make sense. If you know you're not going to survive and you know it's a gamble, you have a 1 in 12 or however many girls are there chance of winning. This is why it pays to pay attention to your middle school education, where we learn how to do averaging, mean, median, and mode, because common sense would tell them, maybe I should keep my day job. Maybe I should go on a leave of absence. Maybe I shouldn't just expect going on a show to blow me up, especially the girls from later seasons. Because if you saw a lot of the other girls who weren't blowing up, why would you think you're going to go in there and blow up? Because really, after that season with Takara and them, a lot of the models that didn't win didn't really do anything unless they stood out like Takara. So I do question some of their thought processes, but I also understand, like, when people get in the fight or flight and wanting to survive and just feeling like they have to risk it or try whatever they can so that they can succeed. And I can't be mad at them for trying, but I do look at them like, girl, $37 a day and ain't no way I'm gonna leave a full-time job that'll pay me $37 a day times whatever for a 1 in 24 chance of winning something. Like, no, I'm not doing it. But we discussed another model named Yovana. Yovana won season 2 of Top Model, and she signed a contract, and she explains kind of the realities of what it was like, kind of like Danny did in the Netflix documentary. But Yovana won cycle 2. So it wasn't like Danny, how Danny got put into a model's apartment and at least had a place to live and was just waiting on work to come. No, Yovana was signed, expected to come to New York, expected to work, do press, do promo, but she had nowhere to live. She was couch surfing and she was not being paid because you're obligated contractually to Top Model, in addition to your new modeling contract, which is also good for a year, to do press. So you're really everywhere in every direction. And it just did not work out for her in the long run, which is unfortunate. But they kind of used these women for as much as they could and then gave all of the money to Tyra and Ken Mock. But we get to discuss season 11 of Top Model, which was an all-star season. And I remember when they announced the all-star season. No, I did not watch it, but I do remember when they announced it. By then I had moved on from Top Model. That was 2011 too. Like, how old was I in 2011? I believe in 2011 I was 21, I believe. So I was like, I'm not interested in this. I have to get a job. Like, I was becoming an adult, so I didn't have time to watch as much. But Lisa D'Amato compares the season 11 all-star season. That is the season she came back for a second time. Now, Lisa says the reason she came back and did Top Model again is because she felt she was made out to be a drunk and triggered by her childhood, that she wanted to come back and basically rewrite her own history, fix her reputation, and do things that would make sense. However, Lisa compared Top Model to the Stanford prison experience. She said they put paper bags over all the ladies' heads and took them to a disclosed location. And I was like, why did they put bags over their head? Because somebody clue me in, because I am not going back to watch season 11. But why did they put paper bags on their head? What was that about? I just found that to be very strange. It's like, don't put no motherfucking paper bag on my head. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to curse you too, but don't put no paper bag on my head. That would have irritated me and had my teeth itching and jumping. Nope. But they put the paper bags over their heads. And this is where we see, I believe it's Angelique. It's Angelique or Angelia. Pretty girl. I remember her. She was one of the biggest Top Model scandals that has been discussed over and over and over. Like, even before everything came out in 2020 and Gen Z start figuring out how bad it was. Like, she had been discussed. So All Stars is the season that there was some controversy with the winner. And I think this is also what killed the momentum of people caring for Top Model, if we're being honest. Now, Angelique was a sex worker. She went through hard times after her season. She says she's from Buffalo, New York, and she just did the best she could. So she became a sex worker. And then she came back years later because the show called her for All Stars. And she was like, I'm going to give it a try. She wins the season. But CoverGirl found out that she was a sex worker. And because of this, they said, we're not giving a contract to somebody who's in sex work, which honestly is understandable. You have to be very careful with the choices you make in life, because while I understand, and the worker of the adult entertainment industry, and lots of us understand, like, some people just do what they got to do and don't have time to get to the next dollar. But what you have to do is not always respected. And it sounds harsh. I have friends that are strippers. I have friends and people I have grown up with who are sex workers, escorts, prostitutes. I know people who've done it. I don't judge them. However, it does impact you if people can figure that out. That's why a lot of people keep it to themselves. But for whatever reason, CoverGirl got this information and they decided Angelique cannot be the winner. We're going to give the win to Lisa. But we had already watched the season by the time that this happened. So everyone's like, Angelique was there and then she suddenly wasn't. What the heck was that about? And they took her win from her. Now, the sad thing is they gave it to Lisa. Lisa was the runner-up, so that was fair. However, because Lisa had this, she went from being the drunk girl to being the girl who stole somebody else's win. And then somebody on the show was like, Tyra, ain't no way you could stand for Black women when you didn't fight for the Black woman that won your show fair and square. You didn't fight for her because of her past. And then you gave her win to a white girl. Now, ordinarily, I would have agreed with the sister who said that on the show. But in this situation, the win went to the runner-up because CoverGirl did not want to work with her. And it's a sad and hard lesson about sex work. If people find out you have done it, not everybody is understanding. Not everybody is respectful. And there's nothing we can do about that. Like, CoverGirl is the sponsor. So, I mean, Top Model did what they had to do to keep their sponsor. It's messed up. It's fucked up. It is. It really is. But that's the rules of the industry. It's a dirty game. You got to be careful what you tell people because they'll hold it against you. That's why you guys ask me, Mrs. Best, you don't cover Zeus? You don't cover baddies? No, because they're going to end up, unfortunately, in situations like Angelique, where some of them may want to do more and want to be respected, but they won't because all they'll know them for is fighting and shaking ass. You have to be careful how you present yourself and what you tell people, especially as a Black person. It sucks, but it's the cards that we're dealt. But Angelique, you know that you're the true winner, and we all know that you're the true winner. And in spite of it all, you still thrived and you still succeeded. And in my opinion, she handled that with grace, because I would have crashed out. The other Gemini would have came out. I would have crashed out thoroughly. So I do respect Angelique for handling it appropriately. And then eventually she got her life back together. Now, on the other end, it's kind of toe up because for Lisa, poor baby, y'all, for Lisa, nobody respected her because of that. So she was like, dang, that was my shot to come back. And I didn't even get the respect that I wanted, you know, which is unfortunate. But they go into more. We see Gina. I remember Gina. She had alopecia. This was Cycle 24. I didn't watch her, but I remember her like going viral on the internet because the brand that was covering that show, it was not CoverGirl that season. It was Pantene. Why would you cast a girl with alopecia so bad she cannot grow hair to compete on a season where the grand prize is to be a goddamn shampoo model? What is she going to shampoo in the commercial? She ain't got no hair. Why would y'all do that to her? It's almost like they set her up for failure. I did not like that. Mind you, I struggle with alopecia. Have always struggled with this since high school. My mom used to be taking me to doctors and stuff. It really can wear on your confidence. So for her to become a model in spite of that, I greatly respect her for it. But why would Tyra, y'all set her up to fail? She could have been cast on any other season. Now, and I'm like, where did CoverGirl go? What happened with that? Like, I have so many questions for them. But shout out to Gina. Shout out to Gina. She did the best that she could. And then she was also judged for doing Playboy. I'm like, wait, didn't Tyra do Playboy? Wasn't Tyra on Sports Illustrated on that cover? Tyra, you were a goddamn lingerie model for Victoria's Secret. I remember you and Giselle and them big ass wings walking down the runway in nothing but your drawers. Tyra, and you gonna get it somebody else for doing Playboy? It's the audacity of it all. It's the audacity of it all. But we learned that some top model members passed away as well in this documentary. They speak of a young woman named Renee. God bless her soul and her family. Renee was on a season with Jasleen, and who won that season. And she admitted on the season, and she was very stressed, that she was swimming in pressure and bills, and she had to take care of her mother, and her husband was going stuff. She was going through a lot. And so she felt like top model was what was going to help her. And unfortunately, it did not help her at all. She ended up on drugs really bad. It looks like she ended up committing some crimes, and you know, it looks like she lost herself and life got to her. That's why I said, be kind to the people you see on the street asking for $1. Be kind to the people that you meet who have told you they've struggled with something. Be kind to those who are complaining. I understand life is tough and we all have bills, but we don't all have the same strength. So it would be nice if, you know, there were empathy and someone around to kind of keep her going. But I feel for Renee, but I do respect her for speaking out. Now, another lady, I hope I say her name right, Mirhana. She was from Cycle 21. She was killed, unfortunately. And we learned that before she passed, she was struggling to get signed to a modeling agency. Like she was really trying to, but because Tyra painted her as ghetto because she had like an urban background, a hard life, she says a lot of other agencies did not want to work with her because people view ghetto and a hard life oftentimes as difficult to work with, especially if you're of color. So I did feel for them with that. And I just say rest in peace and God bless the family of Mirana as well. It's really unfortunate. And this is why you got to be careful who you date, ladies, because she passed away basically because of her boyfriend, allegedly, from what it seems, because they said drug dealer boyfriend, somebody with him shot her or something like that. Very unfortunate situation to all involved. Now, Angelique moves away from this topic and then she brings up Ken Mock, who was the guy who helped Tyra bring Top Model as an idea to life. And she says that she was offended in cycle 11 for All Stars. When Ken Mock came in the room, she says it got dead quiet when he told all of the ladies, you guys have helped put my kids through college. Which now that we know it, I'm like, why would you say that when women was here struggling, crying, hoping they had jobs and homes to come back to? Like, why would you do that, Ken Mock? Ding dong, wake up, sir. And it just shows how ignorant they were to what the women were going through and how they only cared about what the women could provide them and how that correlated to their paychecks, which is unfortunate. But, one of the last big things we see is from Lisa D'Amato, who speaks about there was an era where the Tyra show was a talk show because Tyra, as they say, loved Oprah, wanted a talk show. And Tyra did used to bring the top model girls on her talk show quite a bit. I do remember watching the Tyra show after school. I was in high school and she did have Lisa on there. And I remember watching. I did not know Lisa was locked into a closet and forced to talk about her childhood abuse. That's absolutely disgusting. I am proud of Lisa for speaking out, but that's not okay. And I think people need to start having a backbone and saying, I exclusively said to you guys I didn't want to talk about this, especially if you're on live TV. Like, you play with me, you want to back me into a corner to where I have to be on camera, then I'm about to play with you right back, bitch. And we gonna talk on live television about it since that's what you want to do. Let's talk about why you forced me to do this. Let's talk about the $37 a day per diem for food. Let's talk about it all. That's what I wish she would have done, but in real time. And that was the time we were going through that shift from MySpace to Facebook to social media becoming like a big thing. She probably wouldn't have got very far in her career with that, but I would have aired their ass out. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Mrs. Best ain't got that in her. I would have aired you out. I walk off a job for not much. Okay. I never understand why people will accept so much just for a job or a dream. Like, no, always accept your self-respect first and ensure it's there. But the documentary ended speaking about, pretty much Tyra has been doing this. Tyra's gotten away with it. People are speaking out. Shout out to Gen Z. I know there's more, the things that came out saying they less intelligent than every other generation. But, in some areas they may be less intelligent, like book smart and stuff. I know the school system in this country is just a joke at this point. However, they're extremely intelligent as it relates to emotional regulation and empathy of others. Because they watched the show that I watched as a millennial. And I'm not going to lie to y'all, like, aside from the blackface, I didn't see nothing wrong with a lot of what I watched back then. I don't know if it's because I was a 16, 17-year-old girl back then when Top Model was airing, or if it was because I was just stupid back then. I don't know what it is. But in today's time, the things that are okay would not have been okay back then, and vice versa. So I think it just comes with, we're changing generations, times are changing, technology's advanced. And so people are going to go and find shows and find a lot wrong. They are. I would love a Flavor of Love documentary or a Bad Girls Club documentary or something like that. But, I do appreciate networks airing out what really goes on. I think it helps people who watch TV thinking they want to be on TV. It allows them to have realistic expectations, which in my opinion is so important. Because imagine if all of these ladies would have had a warning, like these documentaries that have been coming out, or from social media that exists today. Imagine if they would have had a warning to what they may have had to face going on America's Next Top Model. A warning probably would have been a hell of a lot helpful. and helped to prevent a lot of pain and destruction, in my opinion. But the documentary does end showing the success of several women. Lisa's doing okay. Gina has her babies and is doing okay. Kenya is doing great. Ebony's doing well. I mean, Jocelyn is doing well. There was another young lady on there as well who says she's in anchoring now. She had like a workout disorder, got through it, but she's doing well. I mean, some people struggled and other people did not. It just shows the resilience in humans. But I'm going to just keep it a buck with y'all. I love everybody who subscribes. I love everybody that watches my channel. But this will be my last review of Tyra Banks. I can't keep doing it. I cannot keep doing it. I'm like, how many documentaries are we going to get? But I appreciate everybody for watching, y'all. The next documentary to air with E's Dirty Rotten Scandals will be on the hit game show, The Price is Right. Never would have thought that there was drama behind The Price is Right. I never would have thought it. It was just something that came on the TV. So I'm excited to see what's going to go on with that. I'll get that recap out to you guys next week as well on Thursday. The next live stream I will have on my channel will be tomorrow. And it will include James from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel. We will be going live to cover the Housewives of Beverly Hills. We'll also be getting out a Watch Your Best Friends live at some point this weekend with myself and James and maybe some other content creators. So I hope that you guys do tune in. Again, I'm a small creator, so every single person that stops by, watches the video, likes the video, and supports in any way you matter, and I appreciate you. But other than that, that's all I have to say about the Tyra documentary. Please, y'all, let me know how you guys felt about this documentary, your opinions on Tyra Banks. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Other than that, go stream Bon Voyage on all platforms. Subscribe to my husband, Also Best, and we will see y'all on the next review. Peace.